This is McLeod Insights, where we feature conversations with longtime transportation industry veterans who are now team members at McLeod Software. Our goal is to support and empower our customers by helping them learn about proven ideas and best practices that will have a positive impact on how they run their companies. Let's dive in.
Hello and welcome to McLeod Insights. I'm Robert Bowen, McLeod's Director of Product Marketing. Today's broadcast is a conversation from McLeod's recent user conference and features our customer, Matt Ziegler, President of ZMac Transportation. Matt is being interviewed by Glenn Lowry. In this conversation, you will learn how ZMac preserved a positive employee and customer engagement with the changing culture after COVID. Matt discusses the company's guiding principles on maintaining growth and success in the coming years. We hope you enjoy the broadcast.
Welcome and thanks for coming today. My name is Glenn Lowry and I used to work for McLeod. I used to work against McLeod and I still like McLeod, and was pleased that I could come and see some good friends and old friends and young friends. And I'm especially pleased because I finally get to meet Matt Ziegler. I've known about ZMac for probably since you started. Yeah. Matt and a friend started talking, you probably read this, they started talking about heavy haul, which in my mind is one of the hardest things to do. And if you're doing brokerage in heavy haul, you've just extended your challenges. And from that, ZMac has made an incredible business. And I'm just so pleased to have the opportunity to talk with Matt today and to talk about what he's been doing, which is something that I think everybody at the whole conference needed to hear. So you guys are very fortunate to hear what he's been doing.
You're setting the bar way too high. I'm telling you.
I'm trying to set the bar high.
Man, it is. Don't expect too much. You won't be let down, all right?
Matt is a good old down-to-earth man that everybody appreciates. One of the things that Matt wrote when he first started the company was, we're going to do the right thing even if it costs more. Brokerage is a tough business, and heavy haul brokerage is a really challenging business. And to be able to live to that for 12 years?
Yeah.
12 years.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. I'm also going to tell you a little bit more. It's going to set the bar even higher. But I happen to know all of the things that Matt has bought from McLeod.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's a long list.
It's a long list.
I am a sucker.
He is a sucker. Sales guy, he's a sucker. Never mind. He's already bought it. What that says to me is that he knows more about how to use the system than maybe anybody here.
Robert's in the room. That's not.
Oh, but you know a lot more than Robert. You tell him what to do sometimes. Right, Robert? So I think that would be an important discussion. If that's what we were talking about, I think that we would all learn from it. That's not why Matt's here. When we first talked, he was invited to be a speaker and given his choice of what he'd like to talk about. And he chose, instead of talking about the technical things that are involved in his business, he talked about general business problem that we all have. This was at the beginning of COVID. And he'd like to talk about with us what he's done through this COVID period to improve his company. So you made a lot of changes.
We did. We made a ton of changes. Really, it was trying to figure out what culture looks like after COVID, because we had the cool office with the dartboards, and like every broker tries to do, where it's fun and you want to create that almost like a frat house under control, where it's fun. Right. So when COVID hits, it did not feel like a frat house anymore. I mean, everyone's remote, right? So we had to set up and move very quickly to get everything remote. And I started to think about it. Well, we had a problem where now people don't want to come back. They're like, well, we're not, can we work from home still? Can we stay at home? Can we do hybrid? And I was like, well, you're hitting goal, I guess. You can. And so we had an issue that was really, how can we still collaborate? How can we still be a team? And we put a plan together to create after COVID culture. Trademark, no, after COVID culture. Yeah, that's
it.
Yeah, that's what we're going to be doing.
So what are some of the things that you did? I watched the training video. We're going to talk more about how we did the training, but after I watched that, Matt, you're somebody in your company is a freaking genius.
I have a wonderful team. They make me look smarter than I really am, that's for sure. But
tell us what you put in place.
So what we put in place, first we couldn't do one thing at a time because it really started to be where other things were dependent on the other. So if we were going to do a hybrid environment where you had some people working or you worked at home a couple days and you were in the office, I'm like, well, we have Mitel phones. How are you going to do these phones? Are you going to forward it and then they drop to the other one? So like, well, we probably should go to a soft phone solution. Well, then we're like, well, which one? Are we going to do Teams? Are we going to do Zoom? Which one? So we had to do that research. So once you figure that one out, it's like, all right, well, now we can do the hybrid deal. We have to create a space for these hybrid people to come in and sit because we don't want to have duplicate equipment. You know, you're paying twice as much for you. They got a home office in a way. You could do a laptop, but then they're working off a screen. It's not near as efficient. So we're going through all these different things, and that's part one was developing at-home, hybrid, and then in the office.
So let me tell you what I learned about his hybrid. His hybrid looked at each job and said, do they have to be in the office? And the answer was,
no.
Not everybody. But there's a lot of people that need to be in the office for one or more things. And his approach to creating this hybrid environment meant when you need to be here, we'll have what you need. And the tools I was impressed with.
We have a lot of different tools. The hard part for me is that I hate that people are working at home. I love the environment that we created. I love the culture that we had. I didn't want that to change, but ultimately it would be for me to decide. But if I brought these people in, forced them to come back, they would look for other jobs, or they might have just quit outright because there's a million jobs out there, as everyone knows, trying to hire. Am I really willing to lose good talent because of my stubborn nature? So I had to get a little introspective and go, all right, I got to figure out why I don't like it. Really, I didn't like it because I didn't feel like we collaborated. So now we put tools in place along with soft phone. We also did multiple rooms with multiple cameras. So like a conference room, we'll have a bunch of drop microphones and then we'll have speakers, and the cameras will follow the person that's talking and kind of zoom in and out so it feels more, we've all been on Zoom calls and you're watching and then it's kind of a broad look like this, right? And then you look up at the people that are on the call with you and you see, you know, they're looking at the browser right next to it, the other monitor. Well, how can we keep them engaged? I think having this where the cameras actually follow the action in a very smooth way, you know, not herky-jerky back and forth, but the technology's come a long way to be able to do that. So we set up conference room like that. We also did an auditorium. So we took pretty much a room like this, set up tables like this, and did the cameras in that room as well, so that, you know, if we have a company meeting or we have a lunch and learn, people can log in through Zoom, or we actually went to Teams, and then the people that are in the office can still be in the auditorium. So we kind of have this hybrid space for a bigger group as well.
I like the way that when he set it up, whether you were in the office that day or out of the office, the same tools were available. And if you were participating, it was the same, whether you were at home or in the office. And everybody had the same benefits from the meeting,
Yeah.
or the conversation.
And that's the thing is we want people to be engaged. If you're gonna have this environment, if you're gonna really lean in to go and having people work from home or hybrid, you're gonna have to find a way to communicate in a completely different way. And so I was on a call with, we have a software, not that type of software, but just like a consultant. And I was explaining, they'd also do our marketing. I was explaining how this piece needed to fold, a 4-fold brochure, and she couldn't understand me. So I turned on the camera and actually showed her how to fold the 4. They said, "Oh, I get it now." I'm like, that's how we're going to have to get used to communicating. Is now you turn the camera on and you're engaged with that person on a more personal level than just a phone call. So my feeling was always I wanted to be in the office because you could engage like that, and it wasn't the same on the phone, and it's not.
Right.
But when you start to get the cameras involved in a little bit more motion and what's happening, I think that's a big part of it. I did also incentivize the people that come in the office, so I pay them $30 a week for gas, because I'm like, if you're gonna, I want you to be in, but she kills me. I just said, if I want you to be in, but I'm not making them come in. But so it's $30 a week if they come into the office.
There are some jobs that are required. So I have to tell you, I never go into these things cold. I called some of his employees.
Oh God.
Yes. They love it.
Who set up gotcha here? Is that what we're doing? Is this gotcha?
This is not a gotcha, Matt. I'm just telling you that they love it. They love you. They love the. Okay, I didn't say that. They really like the concept. And I said, if you had to go back to the office, would you? Well, yeah. Do you want to? No. I like what I'm doing. And different pieces of McLeod that are being used, I was trying to say different departments without saying different departments, because then you'd go ask, who talked to this clown? But I was so impressed that they've got the same tools, but if you think about it, you've got a broker group, you've got a group of guys working on together who may not be together, and yet the tools that you put in, besides the teams and the cameras and such, you put some other things in.
Yes.
What are those?
So we're in the process of also developing we're doing a digital billboard, so that one of the problems is getting the message right to people at home. They don't know what's happening, can't ask them to go to a site because they just won't. So we're going to send them like a smart TV to go wherever their office is, and it's going to roll with digital content like, hey, did you see that this person moved this freight, or take a picture with your pet day, or the things that start to feel more like a family, like a good culture when you can interact with your peers.
What I took from that was that how do you let people have the interaction on a personal basis when they're not there? And so when you're describing this billboard in everybody's home or in everybody's office, I thought that was great.
We also got 6 Surface Pro hubs. They're big 50-inch ones, and they have little battery packs on the stand, and they can roll them up to a lunch table. So if they're having people in the office are having lunch, they can invite someone to a Teams meeting for that Surface hub, and that person can join in and sit down, and they're eating at their computer wherever. But it's a way to kind of roll someone up, and then you can have them join lunch with you, but it does feel very personal when you're on it. First few times we did it, we were like, this is actually pretty cool. This is a different way to communicate, but it's pretty cool.
One of the things that I've observed is that this is not an overnight thing, guys. Didn't happen overnight.
No, and it's still in process. We're also implementing a peer recognition program, so that
this is cool.
One of the people, if a person's working at home and their dispatcher's working in the office, sure, they might talk or have a conversation, whatever, but if that guy stays and covers a load for the salesperson, stays late and goes above and beyond, we give each employee $100, but they can't spend it on themselves. They have to give a portion of that to a peer. So the idea is, and I struggle with this, I have a difficult time going up to people and saying, hey, you're doing a great job. But you get reminded to do that when you see them popping up on the digital billboard, hey, so-and-so just got $50 because of this, and then you explain what they did that was above and beyond. It reminds other people to recognize other people when that comes through on the digital billboard, so that, again, you can communicate more closely even though you're far away.
So if you want to save all of your attaboy money and take the kids to wherever.
Yeah, so it's not just about the $100, but if you do a good job for all 10 of your salespeople, you might end up with $1,000, and we'll have a booklet where you can buy an iPad or whatever.
And because it's being shown on the billboard, everybody says, he did an ad. I want to do that.
It's a way to recognize people doing a good job, and without having the digital billboard, sure, they would know about it individually, but it wouldn't be communicated across the whole team, and everyone likes to be recognized like that. You know, everyone wants to be said, hey, you're doing a good job.
So, Matt, was this the right thing to do?
We'll see. I mean, we're in the middle of it, so I think it was just from the standpoint of not having to lose talent. I'm sure I would have lost talent.
Have you made money on it?
Oh, God, no.
Oh, it costs money?
It costs a lot of money, but you know, how are you going to quantify what you put into culture and what you get back out of it? It's a very difficult thing to quantify.
So if you take away the dip that you experienced during the initial COVID dip, are you past that now? Is your sales revenue up?
Yeah, we're way up.
So what you're telling me is you're able to do more in this than you were doing before. Have you hired more employees?
We've hired more employees, and now we also set up the training room with the cameras and the TVs so that we can get better at remote training. So we'll have a training room where people, if they want to come in, they would be in the office. But if we're going to get really good at it, now I can hire someone in Nakusa, Wisconsin, because they just shut down a paper mill and they need jobs up there. So I'll recruit in where the people are, because there's talented people everywhere.
Sure.
And circumstances happen, and we're going to be able to recruit from anywhere in the country when you're good at that.
You described to me what your training process was now. Can you tell them a little bit about how you train people?
So it's a 6-month class. They come in, they learn basic McLeod stuff, and then what a double drop is. They learn the trailers. And then we have trainers that basically are there to coach them for 6 months. So they're in the training room for 6 months. They're doing their calls. And ours is a little bit different than other people. We actually have a lot more salespeople than we do operations people. We run about 3 customer sales to every 1 operations person, which BAM brokerage is completely different than that. But in flatbed and overdimensional, you have to have a lot of training because there's so many laws and regulations and issues that can jump up and get you if you're not watching. Like if a new salesperson, I was just giving this example about, sets up a crane delivery for Monday morning at 8 a.m. in a state where they don't allow weekend travel, now they would have to either be there on Friday or they're going to miss the crane. Or they're going to break the law, which we don't want them doing that either. Telling your customer and knowing that type of stuff is why we have to coach the employees to say, no, you call them back and tell them we're not going to be there at 8 o'clock. Unless he wants to pay for us to lay over all weekend, then we'll be there, we'll get there on Friday, but you need to have them push it back because they're not going to be able to get in that state. So our trainers are there to coach people through every quote and every load until they take off running.
My McLeod contract says I've got to say the word McLeod at least as many times as we say something else. I really don't. I made that up. I used to be in sales. I can lie really good. But I think you're getting close to the point where you can do remote coaching with these tools as new McLeod users come on board. Will you see that soon?
Yeah, so this October we're hiring a new class, and it'll be the first one that we try completely virtual.
Think about it, guys. You don't have to pay for travel, hotel rooms, the other stuff. They stay where they're going to be working.
I am not advocating that for convention. I dig this. I like being in person. I don't want a virtual convention. I'm tired of that. No more, please. But training and employees, that's good. We can figure out a way to make that work. But
And the thing I liked was that it goes beyond training. Anybody can teach a monkey what this button means. How do you coach them as to when to use that button? Now you've got a coach that's able to watch and coach as they go, follow up on things.
You learn pretty quickly when you make a big mistake in my niche. So a new person makes that type of mistake and it costs, we've had loads, we lost 13 grand on a load, and it's like that. Someone should have been there to hold the hand a little bit. We probably wouldn't have done that. So that's what the idea is with the training.
I also wanted to say that this is going to get you in trouble. You'll never talk to me again, Matt. But anybody can build a company. I've done it. It takes a real leader to get people to follow you in doing new things. This is pretty radical. Let me ask you, how many of your companies have gone back to the office? You probably want to talk to Matt. I think that the ability to scale, when you talk about scaling a company, what are the impediments to scaling? And I think that the way that ZMac has gone about this is that they've removed a lot of those impediments. You can grow without more office space. I just vacated a big office space. We're never going back in one of my companies. And I say, wow, I want to learn from what Matt's done.
We're going to try some different stuff. Like in the virtual training, I thought about maybe having another camera where the trainer can see the person that's on their calls, and so it's more, it would look like a Zoom call kind of thing. So they could kind of keep track, and if they wanted to listen in, they could just click the button or click that circle and listen to what that person's talking about to their customers, because it's going to be more difficult to coach remotely because you're not there overhearing saying, wait, did they just say crane for Monday? So it becomes a little bit more challenging when it's remote, but we're trying to look for solutions around that as well. There's gonna be a way to do this. I'm just gonna keep on playing with it until something works, but I had to get my mind right around you're gonna come in the office and this is the way it's gonna be, and accepting that everything has changed and it's not going back.
How many, you don't have to say a number, but have you lost some good employees because of this?
No, well, not because of this. I mean, everyone has a little bit of turnover, but this was probably the only time that because when I presented it to all the people and the employees, it's probably the only time it's been unanimously, I like everything about what that plan is. Because I wanted to lay out the whole plan to them, because it's not just, oh, you get to be hybrid at home now. It's when you are, these are the tools we're going to put in place to help you be successful. Better mics, better cameras. We had a problem with Teams where they were logging into Teams when they were on the remote desktop. So that really screws up the speed, and calls get real choppy. So we had to pull it off of the remote desktop and put it onto their regular desktop, and not even have a Teams icon on the remote desktop, so that they know they go to this monitor. So the one monitor is their actual desktop, the other one's remote desktop, so that it's that type of stuff. That infrastructure to develop takes time.
You had a problem early on with infrastructure in terms of bandwidth.
And it wasn't necessarily the bandwidth that, fiber, whatever. It's more the user, their bandwidth coming in through remote desktop and then coming back into their
How'd
desktop.
You solve it?
So we solved it by completely getting rid of Teams on remote desktop. That was the solution for it, because
there's a hint there, guys. If you're going to do this, 2 different machines, remote desktop and
everyone has their desktop machine, the regular one that they log in with, and then they hit the button for remote desktop, and that's the one that's actually technically in our building, right?
Right.
So they would always log on through the wrong one, and I don't like to say this normally, but the term, we had to dummy-proof certain things. You have to say, okay, take these buttons completely off of there. Otherwise, they're going to keep on hitting that damn button. They're just going to keep on doing it over and over.
That's right.
So those are the things that you have to, when you're planning on this, you have to find better ways to find solutions, really.
Would the things that you've done be pretty transferable to an assets-only company, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I don't see why it would be any different. It may even be better. I mean, like a lot of our people that are working remote, you can see when they're logging in and when their activities happen, they're putting in a lot more time than they probably would in the office. Some of them.
Got it.
The ones that are hitting goal seem to be putting in more time. Isn't that a coincidence? But
there you go.
It's the ones that aren't, though, they're doing okay. So I would think, from a dispatch standpoint, from claims, I don't see any reason why an asset base would be indifferent. And I worked at asset base for 11 years before I started ZMac, so, I'm very familiar with that operation as well.
This ain't going to put you in the hot spot. I just want to see, how many of you folks would like to see a white paper from McLeod or from somebody about how do you implement things in terms of COVID? Anybody? Okay, thank you. I'm not going to spend my time on it. I think this will take a lot of time. Matt has taken a good company, got through something challenging, made it a better company. I look at the employees, and I want you to know they love it. That's a good signal to me if your employees love it. Did they tell you that? Or?
No, remember, we don't recognize each other. That's why we're putting in the program that we're putting in.
Thank you so much for coming today, and thanks for your thought and your time put into it.
We're already out of time?
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you.